let's talk a little bit about Michael Myers in Stranger Things. And I talked about this last month, and we're going to talk just a little bit more because it's gotten even better, right? um, okay, we're going to talk some Stranger Things now. And spoiler alert if you've not watched Stranger Things 4, Volume 2, which premiered on July 1st, this past weekend. Um, you probably want to go watch that first and then come back and join the rest of this discussion and give us your thoughts in the comments below. I mean, I don't think what we're talking about here is very spoilery. I don't intend to go into major plot spoilers. We're talking just mainly about the Michael Myers references here. But that being said, with all due respect, if you want to preserve everything, then you probably want to go watch that first. But if you care that much about it, you've probably already watched it over the weekend. It's just two supersized episodes to wrap up this second to last season, which is the fourth season, and there was even more Michael Myers love. And we talked about this a few weeks ago after Volume 1 of Season 4 of Stranger Things dropped, and I was very happy to hear yet another Michael Myers shout out early on in the season. And we talked at that time about how this really just kind of continues the show's tradition of paying homage and just referencing the Shape himself, uh, as they've done in most of the seasons in various ways and in some very loving ways, because the show, if you've never watched it, it's set in the 80s. And from the beginning, especially in season 1, and I wrote a review of the show after its first season, and I watched the entire first season in 2 nights. I've been a fan since it first dropped on Netflix. And the show, if you've never seen it, it's set in the 80s, and it is very much a love letter filled with nostalgia for the 80s. And the first season, especially, and the show in general, but especially in the early episodes, owes very much its inspiration to the works of Stephen King, Steven Spielberg, and John Carpenter, among other genre favorites. And it's loaded with Easter eggs and references and love and affection for all of those gentlemen and all of the things that we love that are connected to that. Fans of the show that have seen it know what I'm talking about. Obviously, I'm a fan of the show. So every year it advances another year roughly in show time. And I talked about this before, how the show has thrown a little love to Michael Myers more than once over the years. And in season 1, the very first shout out that the Shape got on Stranger Things was in the second episode of the first season, which was entitled The Weirdo on Maple Street. And it's when Dustin is talking about Eleven's unique powers. And he says that she is basically unstoppable, kind of like Michael Myers. Then, we can go to season 2 for the next reference, for the next shout out, the next boogeyman moment in Stranger Things. And this might be the best, because season 2 kicks off at Halloween. And again, in the second episode of season 2, something about those episode 2s, Stranger Things takes place on Halloween night. And the episode is called Trick or Treat Freak. And the character, Max, played by Sadie Sink, actually spooks our main 4 male characters, who are dressed as the Ghostbusters, by the way. because it's 1984, and she spooks them jumping out dressed as Michael Myers, wearing this mask. Now, this mask, by the way, if you're wondering, this is actually a Trick or Treat Studios mask, and it is technically an officially licensed Halloween 2 Michael Myers mask, produced by Trick or Treat Studios, originally released by Trick or Treat Studios back in 2012. And if you're wondering, no, that's technically not period accurate, because in fact, no officially licensed Michael Myers mask from Halloween 78 or Halloween 2 had been released yet at that time as of 1984. But this is a fantasy slash science fiction genre show, so we're gonna go with it and let our imaginations, suspend our disbelief just a little bit. And it is an amazingly hilarious, awesome scene, and is actually so great. And I'm not the only one that thinks this, because Funko actually released a pop figure of the character with her pumpkin pail on Halloween night, and she is wearing her Michael Myers costume. This is one of my favorite collectibles ever. It was a Hot Topic exclusive. It is so awesome. It's not Myers, but I mean, it is Max from Stranger Things dressed as Myers from the Halloween Night episode, season 2, episode 2. It's amazing. It's awesome. Love the episode. Love that Funko reached deep to put that figure out and show that kind of love. So season 3 came, and we didn't quite get a direct Michael Myers reference in that season. But what you have to understand, again, if you've never watched the show, and if you have, you already understand, especially if you're a Myers fan. But the show very much pays homage throughout, stylistically, and even sometimes thematically as well. So it's very, Myers is very much a presence, even when he's not mentioned. That being said, no direct reference in season 3, but I feel like they more than made up for that with this most recent season. We talked last month, after volume 1 of season 4 dropped, that there was a great mention of Michael Myers in Stranger Things. Again, oddly enough, in the second episode. This time, the episode is called Vecna's Curse. One of the characters is talking to another one of this year's new characters, Eddie Munson's father, and they're talking about the character of Victor Creel, who is played by Robert Englund this season. Again, lots of Freddy references, lots of Nightmare on Elm Street imagery, but this is Michael Myers Monday. That's not what we're talking about, but there's a ton of that this season as well. I could do a whole nother show on that. But in this conversation, they're talking about Victor Creel, and Eddie Munson's dad is describing him, and he wants to describe him as being kind of blank and emotionless, and he can't think of the guy in the white mask in the movie. And the character of Nancy reminds him, "You mean like Michael Myers?" He says, "Yeah, like Michael Myers." And of course, I love that because it just kept this tradition alive and kept the love alive. But they were really just getting warmed up, because in the second to last episode this season, in volume 2 of Stranger Things 4, episode 7, as a matter of fact, we got even more Myers love, because that mask, Max's mask from season 2, gets a hilarious callback when the season's new fan favorite character, I love them, Eddie Munson, asks Max, he's looking for a disguise for reasons we won't go into tonight. You've already seen it, But he's looking for a disguise. And he says, do you have a bandana or a ski mask or something like that? And she thinks for a minute and remembers, yeah, I got a mask. And it's one we all remember her very memorably wearing. And so here is that awesome moment. It cuts to Eddie, complete, wearing his Hellfire Club D&D t-shirt, popping around the corner wearing that Michael Myers mask. Now, technically, it's not actually in real life that exact mask. I'll go into that in just a second. But this is a hilarious. This accomplishes so much. This is why I love it. It's a hilarious callback to season 2 and just one of the best, most memorable moments in the show. So for fans, it's a great Easter egg there, Stranger Things fans. But then it goes even further and deeper by once again bringing in the Myers love, and this time specifically bringing in the mask and having it be used so effectively in this scene. And again, I'm not even going into stylistic and thematic references, and there are even arguably some musical references to Michael Myers that occur in this very scene. Here is another shot from this episode, and there you see a lot of the show's principal cast members in the background, and that is Eddie Munson, played by Joseph Quinn. New addition to the cast this year, rocking that Michael Myers mask. And I say it's technically a different mask because if you go over here, you can see that Justin Mabry, who is a sculptor and co-founder of Trick or Treat Studios, also helped create the Halloween 2018 mask with Christopher Nelson's team. He posted over the weekend about the mask appearing. And of course, it was his H2 that served as Max's mask in that season 2 episode. Well, he even addressed the difference in the sculpt and in the actual mask in his post on Instagram over the weekend. He says, quote, "My Trick or Treat Studios Myers in season 4 of Stranger Things. I know it's confusing because it was repainted to match the one that Max had in season 2. So flesh tones around the neck area were added to the neck. I've read some comments saying that's not period correct." And he says, because this mask didn't come out until a few years ago. It's correct. In make-believe world, technically, there were no official Michael Myers masks at that time. It's a great show, and I'd say about 99% of the people don't care because they aren't as big of nerds as we are. Yeah, I don't think most people care. I certainly noticed in season 2 that, that's not technically period correct, but I'm more than willing to let it slide because how cool is it to have our favorite boogeyman, the Shape, represented so well, and I gotta say, so hilariously too, in a loving way, not in a mocking way at all, but in a loving way. And if those masks did in fact exist in the mid 80s, of course, Max, of all the characters, would be the one to own it. Technically, her brother owned it, she says in the episode, so that makes it even cooler if you dive deeper into the show and you know who her brother is and all that. But anyway, give me your thoughts on this. Are you a Stranger Things fan? What have you thought of the pop culture references in general? Because Michael Myers is, of course, just the tip of the iceberg. The show is loaded with them, and that's part of the fun, the nostalgia. But what have you thought about the Easter eggs in general, and specifically about the Myers love. Am I imagining this? I know the show shows a lot of love to a lot of 80s era icons, and clearly there's a lot of Freddy love, a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street inspiration evident throughout this season, especially with the new villain Vecna. And a lot of what he does, a lot of that is very reminiscent of a Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy type stuff. But I mean, they don't really reference the other guys quite with the same reverence that they do the Shape. Or am I wrong? Uh, Obviously, I'm a little bit biased sometimes when it comes to Michael, but I love the show and I love all the love that it shows to the genre, and I love that they both reference, they show love in how they are paying homage to the things that inspire them, but also it gets a little meta when they reference it through the characters. But it's been fun seeing their different references to Michael Myers and the Shape and the Halloween franchise in general. And again, that's just the obvious stuff. That's just the stuff that's said out loud and visually seen. And that's just the Michael Myers related stuff. There's so much other stuff loaded in there, from movie posters to all the dialogue. But tell me what you think. Are you a fan of the show like I am? What'd you think of season 4? We can talk about it now. If you've watched all of this, then clearly you've watched all of season 4. So give me your thoughts in the comments below. And if you haven't watched it yet, what are you waiting for? Get on it, get caught up. Maybe this tells you, it pushes you over there. It just says, I'm finally going to check that out now. You've been putting it off. Anyway, let me know what you think about Stranger Things season 4 and all the Michael Myers love coming out of Hawkins. Funko, hello Funko. I know you hear me talking now, right? Funko watches this, right? Of course they do, sure, right? Come on, Funko. You did Max in the Myers costume for season 2. You know what we need now? It's got to be. This has to happen. We need Eddie Munson in his Hellfire Club t-shirt. It's going to be awesome. With that Myers mask on. Not just on the top of his head like here, because Max did wear it like this in the episode. She's first wearing it, then she's wearing it. No. Have him wearing it, but in his Hellfire. Come on. It's going to happen, right? We're going to will it into existence, and it's going to be another must-own. What do you guys think?